It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome back to another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders. How are we feeling, Alan? Because yesterday you said you kind of needed this song to give you a bit of a boost here in the afternoon, evening. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. How do you feel in the same way today?
We're calling it afternoon, so I feel like we should call it afternoon.
Yeah, but by the time people are listening or watching this, it's an hour later now. It's my fault, but yeah, I guess to keep along with the theme of the show, we have to call it afternoon. But anyways, did you need the jump still today, or how are we feeling today?
No, man, I'm jazzed up. I'm ready to go. Things have me angry, and I'm ready to yell about them. And so I've been looking. Okay. I've been waiting. I've been Bart Scott about the podcast since about 9 a.m. I've just been can't wait. I'm ready.
Do you know what the craziest thing about you saying that is like, I'm going over the notes here. I'm thinking about what we're going to be talking about. You said that, and none of it relates to Pro Football Focus. So, people are in for a real treat here.
I'm not even mad about PFF today. I mean, I'm mad about PFF every day that it exists. So in that regard, I am. But no, not specifically PFF. I'm ready to yell about other stuff.
Okay, well, we'll do that. We'll get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast in a little bit here. But first things first, with you actually being at practice today, covering practice today, I want to talk. You obviously talked to the coordinators today. We can talk about what came of that. The one thing that I wanted to bring up from that, I don't know how much conversation you got from them, but about Art, because Najee also talked about this, feeling like the run game is close, and we've heard some players on the offense also use this exact same thing, that the dam is about to break with the offense. They feel things are close there. I wanted to know just what that conversation was like, if you maybe agree from what you've seen from them on tape, or where you feel like things are.
Yeah, it's funny because I guess someone on the offensive line had said that yesterday, and then someone asked Art Smith about it today, and he's like, well, yeah, that's good. They're listening because that's what I said to them.
There you go.
And so, excuse me. I think there's – look, I mean, that's one of those things where it's like everybody thinks that. But I think there's pretty good evidence for that. Because, and I think you and I talked about this maybe in the post game too, is that this running game is not being propped up by big plays. You can have a 4 yards per carry running game that is actually quite bad, but you broke one good run, and the rest of it stunk, and it wasn't any good. And so you have a whole bunch of ones and zeros, and then you got 120 that's kicking the average up. The Steelers' running game right now is the opposite of that. They don't have hardly any ones and zeros, hardly any negative, and they're not getting huge plays. They got some 10s. There's 120, but they're not really getting what we'd call explosive runs. But they're keeping the offense on schedule, and they're not losing yardage.
Sure.
That's how you get a really good running game. Is you take a good average, and then you stack some big runs on top of it. And so I think they have, and honestly, consistently getting 4 yards a carry is probably the harder of those things to do when you take in consideration the circumstance the Steelers have been in. They've been leading most of the 2 games they've played in. They're playing with young offensive linemen who are going to make mistakes. The fact that they haven't had negative to me is actually a really important thing. And so I kind of buy this, that the dam is about to break. I don't know if it's going to happen this week, but I just think that they are on the right track with this running game to it becoming really, really good.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I'm not saying that it wouldn't happen even with Spencer Anderson in the lineup, but I feel like you're going to see another step taken once they get Isaac Seumalo back as well. That's still, I think there's another level to be had there with the offensive line and the way that they've played, because I'm so encouraged by the early returns of Zach Frazier. I don't know how anybody couldn't be. Dan Moore's obviously played really well. I mean, think about just that left side in general, what they can do behind those guys. Troy, I thought, looked very good once, they stopped the rotation last week and he was able to just settle in there. And James Daniels, I didn't think was great in week 2, but I feel like he's been a steady presence as a Steeler, and we kind of know what he is as a player. So I feel like, yeah, I'm kind of there as well, where I have a comfort level of where this team is right now and what they're going to be, at least in the run game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's I've always thought that they were going to be able to run the ball. I don't think they've been running it poorly. I just think we haven't seen it really break out in a way that I think it's capable of. I think the running game is going to be the thing that leads this offense. Like, for all of the talk about Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin and how conservative the game plan, and I think really the way this offense gets explosive is through the running game first and foremost. Like, they can be explosive just running the football. We remember that fourth quarter drive against the Atlanta Falcons where they took, I don't know, it's like 7 minutes off the clock and they went 80 some yards. And I think that they're capable of that on a regular basis. I don't think that needs to be a once a year kind of thing. And so I think you're going to see that running game continue to progress. And I think that there could be even more. Like, if Justin Fields keeps playing, I think there's another level to it as well. If you incorporate more quarterback run into the mix, like, he certainly has a bunch of yards, but a lot of that's been scrambles. That hasn't been like designated, designed quarterback runs.
I actually had somebody, I just want to give this person a shout. They're involved in college athletics. I don't know if they're like an intern or if they're actually on the staff or whatever, but they sent me a DM today because I put out a post about like, where did the QB run game go in week 2? And they responded and said, at least for us, we've always kind of at least dialed that element back in high altitude. And they were wondering if maybe that was the cause of it. Like, that was just part of the game plan for the Steelers on Sunday.
Now I'm trying to figure out who you're talking to that's on a college football staff that plays in a high altitude. We got the wheels turning over here. I would say that could have been a part of it. I just think mostly it's quarterback run to me is a part of your slow down the edge rushers game, and they didn't need that against Denver. They will need that this week. I think you're going to see more quarterback run and more screens and more draws, and all those things that slow down the edge rushers, I think, are coming back this week with Bosa and Mack. And look, those are not big ends, and I don't think the Chargers' defensive tackles are very good. So I think this is a week where the running game really has an opportunity to take advantage. Like, Mack and Bosa are really good pass rushers, but you want them defending the run. Like, that's how to attack this team. And you look at Carolina, Carolina was losing, and so they couldn't run, but they kind of ran the ball okay against the Chargers.
Yeah. Yeah, the person that sent me that DM, by the way, this is like maybe the second time that we've interacted. I know they watch or listen to the podcast. I'm not sure which one, so I'll probably hear about this conversation afterwards anyway once this comes out. But an offensive lineman that we didn't mention while talking about that group was Broderick Jones. Still trying to figure out exactly what the path forward for him is going to be. You put out a little clip that had Broderick Jones, and if you were able to observe there or even just read the words that Alan put on the post, you notice that there's a smaller brace, some smaller padding protecting that elbow. Alan, anything to make of that? Do you think that that's a sign that it's just a comfort level like, is it more about the injury getting better, do you think, or is it about just like he doesn't feel like he can play with as much padding as he had been having there?
Yeah, I think the brace was bothering him. And so I talked to him after practice, and he said, he said a lot of things, and we'll get to all that. But I think they're going to try this for a little bit and see how it goes. So I think the brace was a significant factor in his play. Yes.
Okay.
Certainly.
All right, so let's dive into the rest of what he had to say then. Also, the fact that he was still doing both, we were kind of curious as to what that would look like, but he was still been on the left side and on the right side. Again, I pointed out, we'll see, will the inclusion of Dylan Cook into the formula change anything about what they're doing with Broderick? TBD once he gets back. But what did Broderick have to say today when in speaking?
Man, what a great conversation with a young guy who was a top 15 draft pick who has been benched. If you're a young football player and you want to know how to deal with the media, if you ever want to just like learn how to be good at it, you want to learn how to be a good teammate and responsible for your actions, go listen to this interview with Broderick Jones today. There are guys on this team that are star players that are really good at what they do, that almost never screw up, that never want to talk to us, that never want to be accountable for themselves or for the rest of the team or whatever. They just don't want to be a part of the process. And that's their right. That's fine. But, boy, what an awesome conversation for a guy that was getting crapped on for his attitude, which was always unfair and wrong. But, like, just way to show people exactly how wrong it was today by Broderick Jones. I wish I could read the quotes, but, you know, he addressed every single thing you could have wanted to address head on, including what I believe is probably the quote of the year to lead things off, which is an all-timer. And just, you know, addressed his play, addressed taking responsibility for it, addressed the way he said what he said after the game, which was simply saying that if Troy earned the right to start, then I think he should earn the right to play a ball. I don't want pity snaps. This isn't college football. Like, if I didn't earn them, I didn't earn them. And, like, man, and then someone asked about the future. He said, I'm still confident in myself. They drafted me in the first round for a reason. I don't feel like they've lost any confidence in me. We're going to move forward and figure it out. Just, to me, an absolute masterclass in how to compose yourself as an athlete. And I give Broderick all the credit in the world, because I think some of the stuff that was said about him since that Broncos game was extremely unfair. And he just seriously took the high road, while also, you know, showing humility and honestly being funny about it. Like, that's great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, not only did he speak after the game, spoke again today. So I think that he's taken it head on. I appreciate the approach. And again, I don't think that his story is anywhere close to being written yet. So obviously rooting for him to bounce back from this, learn from this, grow from this. And I think with the mindset that he's shown, has every chance to do so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Anything else regarding him or that conversation before we move along?
I just want, like, what were your thoughts on what he had to say? What was your reaction to that?
I mean, kind of, I guess the same as as a fan, I definitely appreciate that. The thing that, like, is always going to be tougher with me than I feel like a majority of the fan base, and this isn't like a better or worse thing. I'm not saying I'm a better fan for it or a worse fan for it, is I just feel like I'm not part of that, like, irrational crowd or anybody that had already kind of written him off. So I'm curious as to, like, what their thoughts are with the way that he's handled the situation. Because for me, like, again, I really appreciate that. I think it just goes into why they're buying into not just the player but also the person that he is, understanding that there was a bit of a project there to work with, and almost going back to terms that we like to use, you know, a moldable ball of clay here. And I think that there's still a lot of work for him to do as a player and a person, but I think that this goes to show, you know, the type of person that they're investing in as well. So I don't know, I can appreciate it for sure.
Yeah. For me, you F up, you get pulled is just, it doesn't get any better than that. Like, that's about as good as it gets, right?
Yeah, a couple curse words in there from Broderick in his answer, which showing the human element of it as well. Yeah, I mean, again, I think that from my standpoint, I can appreciate everything about the situation right now and what he's going through, and really hope that he comes out on the other side, and think he'll come out on the other side better for it. So it's kind of where I'm at with him right now. An injured player working his way back, Roman Wilson, finally gets in that full practice. Thought it was going to happen yesterday, happened today. Would seem to be that the light is green then for Sunday, Alan?
I would say so. You know, he's probably needs to do another full practice on Friday, but I think we're trending towards him getting in the lineup. We talked to Roman a good bit today. You know, he said he doesn't know yet, but he feels like he's been getting better every day. I see a guy who's running pretty well. You know, I don't think that there's much left he has left to do to prove that he can go out there and make an impact. And I think also, like, as we talked about, like, the helmet math seems to work out for him getting back on the field this week. And so I do expect to see Roman Wilson out there. And I don't know that he's going to play 100 snaps, but I think he'll get his first shot.
Yeah, my question last week was more about the helmet math. I feel like if it was really, if they were down to it, if they felt like their backs were really against the wall, I almost felt like he could have gone last week. But I'm not saying that giving him an extra week to get ready for this one was a bad call. And I think, like you said, the helmet math is easier this week, seemingly with the injuries that they've suffered. So, yeah, it certainly sounds like we're going to see Roman Wilson make his Steelers and NFL debut on Sunday against the Chargers. Do you think he has a shot there at splitting that seam, maybe going right up the middle of a cover two that the NFL is allowed to play for some reason? Or
No, he's the check down guy, man. And he's
true.
Just getting all those 3-yard gains. That's where Roman Wilson is.
Nah, okay, but that's where I want to take it next. Mel Kiper Jr., which literally 48 hours ago, I agreed with his take when he went scorched earth on the Carolina Panthers about the Bryce Young situation and was, putting the blame on the organization and stuff like that.
I disagree with him about that one too. Do you want to talk about that first?
I guess so. Yeah. Go ahead.
Bryce Young was not a good prospect, and the entire draft community and apparently the Carolina Panthers badly overrated him. And we got bamboozled into thinking that just because Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray exist, that 60 years of guys that small failing miserably as NFL quarterbacks just stopped happening. And we should not treat them as 2 of the last 10, but 2 of the 100 ever to try it. That was a huge miss. CJ Stroud was always clearly a demonstratively better option. And it's not that the Panthers screwed up. It's just that he's too darn small.
Okay, so I agree. I had CJ Stroud ahead of Bryce Young, but I get the part that I agree with is they took him and then they had the situation that they did surrounding him. And then all the blame was put on to Bryce Young.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but I don't think it's the Panthers' fault that he's not any good. I just think he's not any good.
You don't think there's a world out there where Bryce Young is a capable NFL quarterback?
I mean, there are situations where you could put almost anybody and they'd succeed. Clearly, Carolina is not one of them.
Right. I agree. Sure. I think that there's a world where he has a decent NFL career, but it was never going to happen in Carolina.
It was never going to happen in any place that was going to pick high enough to draft him. Because those places are a mess. And he is not. I mean, Houston traded up. He is not a super. He is not Houston would. He would not be having the same success in Houston that CJ Stroud is having, or anywhere.
Well, Houston picked 2 of their. They traded up again to be able to also get Will Anderson, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, they took. Yeah, that was their own pick though. They were that bad.
Yeah.
Take CJ Stroud.
I don't think that'd be having anywhere near the same amount of success with Young, and I don't think there's a lot of other places that have been. I mean, the Steelers might have been one of those spots just because they don't need their quarterback to do very much, but that's 15 picks later. I mean, he was never going to be that guy to be drafted.
To be honest,
highly.
A spot that comes to mind, and that they weren't picking that. I don't know what pick they had that year. But Miami with Tua going down with the weapons that they have with that system, where it's just get the ball in your hands as fast as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I just think if you're going to be a top 5 quarterback, the expectation is you yourself is going to lead your team to glory with a bunch of scrubs around you.
Yeah,
and he was never going to be that player. Yeah,
right. And I never saw that. So yeah, from that standpoint, I certainly agree. I think that there's more bad there from the Carolina Panthers side for drafting him that high, drafting that player that high, and also having that situation that they've continued to have around him.
They screwed up beyond that, and benching him is dumb. What's that solving? Just keep playing him.
But anyways, okay, so there was that take from Mel Kiper 48 hours prior to this. Today, this literally out of nowhere, I didn't expect to see this, was talking about the NFL needs to ban defenses from playing cover 2 defense. I don't even know what the crux of the idea from him was, to be honest. I don't know what in his mind all of a sudden was this is what needs to happen to make the league more exciting and get more points on the board. But that seems like where the idea is coming from, right? It's just scoring is down, and this in his mind is the answer to that.
This is objectively one of the stupidest NFL takes of all time. From someone who is respectfully a legend in this business and essentially created an entire industry. this is absolute brainworms stuff. Like, this is beyond idiotic. You can't even defend it on any level. First of all, like, let's just say that this was a good idea. It's not, okay? But let's just say it was. How in the world would you officiate that?
No idea.
How would you even begin to attempt to officiate banning a specific type of zone defense? How?
Right.
You could ban zone defense, I guess, like, altogether, but that's not what he's saying. He's saying get rid of cover two. Like, it's not even physically possible to call that. I don't even, like, the one thing I come up with, I guess you could say, is like, all defenders except for one have to be within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. But even then, you can still play lots of cover two from there. You just need a safety who's fast enough to run at the snap to get to his zone.
That's what Chuck Pagano was saying. He's like, they would just come out in a different defense and then roll to it.
Right. Like, how could you possibly officiate that? It's not even like, it's beyond plausible, even if it was a good idea. The second part is, it's not even a good idea. It's dumb. The cover two is not like it's not like baseball where, like, oh my God, people came up with something new and now they're abusing it, and now the league needs to step in and find a way to keep this from happening because it's making our game boring, right? It's not like banning the shift in baseball. Cover two has been around since the 70s. In fact, cover two was, Tony Dungy played in it in the 70s in its first wave of popularity. Then he coached it in the early 2000s in its second wave of popularity when they developed the Tampa 2, which is a variant of it that involves a linebacker running the seam. This is the third time the cover two has gotten popular. And you know what happens every time the cover two gets popular? Offenses figure out a way to beat it, and they adapt and they move forward, and then it stops being popular again. There was a time like 8 years ago where if you were a defensive coordinator and you were in a cover two scheme, you couldn't get a job because nobody wanted that, because everyone thought it was obsolete and awful. Like, this is so stupid.
So that's because we really haven't talked about, like, I feel like we've talked about the cyclical effect that the NFL has had right now with offenses. But I feel like defensively, we haven't spent as much time talking about it, but like, this is it. You're seeing a lot more cover two. QB play is in quotes down because of it. I mean, you're not seeing as much scoring. But I mean, obviously it's stupid, and obviously neither of us would sign off on that. I don't know. It's hard to even like fathom having a legit take on it because I take it so unseriously.
Like, and also cover two is not even the most called defense in the NFL right now. Okay, and cover two is not the reason that teams are having a hard time passing. Teams are having a hard time passing because there's no quarterback talent in the league right now. It's not even the right, like, problem solver. Like, we went through an unprecedented period of quarterback play from 90 whatever to 2015, right? Where you have pull up the all-time passing leaders in the NFL history, and 10 of the top 15 played together at the same time. You're probably never going to see that again. You're never going to see Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers. I mean, Phillip Rivers is like a top 10 all-time quarterback. He was like 8th best in the league when he was in it. Like, you're just never going to see Brett Favre was there then. Like, that's never going to happen again. And, yeah, you're not going to get as much scoring when you don't have that much quarterback talent. But most of the rest of NFL history, like, there's been 5 good quarterbacks and the rest of the league stinks. Well, I mean, I don't even know if we have 5 right now, but yeah, that's where we are. So I just, this idea that, oh, it's cover two, it's not cover two. It's Bryce Young was the number 1 overall pick. Like, that's the problem, right? Like, there's not enough good quarterbacks.
So with that being said, though, to try to relate this back to the Steelers, their formula being that this is like what the defenses are doing, trying to keep everything in front, playing a lot more of this. I know it's like you said, not the most. Actually, Steelers cover 3. I mean, that's probably like they wouldn't even be that impact.
The Steelers run among the least cover 2 in the NFL.
Right. That's what I was just saying is like, if this were to happen, the Steelers actually wouldn't be that impacted by it. But anyways, my point was going to be like, I don't want to say ahead of the trend here with the cycle, but if teams are going to try to get back to running the ball more, if that's the answer for this because of QB play or the coverages that defenses are playing, are the Steelers kind of in a good spot then in your mind with the way they're trying to run their offense?
The Steelers defense is a black suit with a white shirt. It doesn't ever change, and it doesn't ever come in or out of style. It is always the same. It is always good. It will never not be good.
Yeah.
It has never not been good. If you don't try to keep up with the times, you can never get behind them.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a team that is trying to be with the trend, then you have to adjust when the trends change. And if you are not that, if you just go for timeless, then it doesn't matter to you. And so all of this conversation is basically irrelevant to Pittsburgh Steelers, who changed their defense in 1982 and hasn't changed it since. I mean, that's who they are. Do they tweak things? Yeah, absolutely. Do they try to find solutions for problems that offenses present to them? Yeah. And have there been specific trends over the years that have been more problematic for them than others because of the scheme they have? Yeah. I mean, you never look bad in a black suit with a white shirt, but you are a little bit out of place in a bowling alley. Okay, let's admit it. Like, it's not like
I'm big on the black on black, to be honest.
It's not perfect for every situation, but you never look bad. And the Steelers defense is not going to change. And it didn't even change when they hired a coach who came up in the Tampa 2 defense. It still didn't change.
Yeah.
And it's just not. It's not gonna. Like that. They're going to be who they are.
So I'm asking more so from the offensive side and how they're going to attack it. Like, are they? I don't want to say ahead of the curve if teams are going to do this more, but are they better set up? I guess is what I'm asking. If they are going to be a run first team, when that is the answer to make teams stop playing these types of coverage.
Yeah. Did you see Braden Fajoko's tweet?
We follow each other, but I don't think I saw his tweet, to be honest.
Oh, you need to bring up Braden Fajoko's tweet. Is that possible?
Okay.
Can we make that happen?
Yeah. Well, before I do that, I want to point out, because I just came across this. Cover 3 is played at a higher rate in the NFL than cover 2 and quarters right now combined by about 8%.
Cover 1's played more than cover 2 also. Yeah.
What was the Fajoko tweet? Which one was it?
You'll know it when you see it. And
was it his most recent? Was it with the image?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I got it right here then. Is this it?
Yeah, that's it. Go ahead and read it for our podcast.
So Braden Fajoko says 2 high safeties giving your offense fits. Are your shot plays in shambles? Does your QB take the check down? Well, if so, I've discovered this new play that will revolutionize offenses for generations, and it is HB dive.
Yeah, perfectly.
I like
said
this.
I'm
gonna actually like it.
Yeah, I liked it and retweeted it. Perfectly said by the former Steelers nose tackle, who may again, as soon as he gets healthy, he may end up back on the team.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you don't like too high, just run the ball. It's really hard to stop the run with 2 safeties 10 to 12 yards off the ball. In fact, it's darn near impossible. So, like, and the other thing is, like, there are offenses. You don't see the 49ers crying about too high. You don't see the Rams. Like, those offenses were essentially specifically designed to exploit too high. So, like, it's not that big of a deal for anyone, really. No one's like, oh, my gosh, they're going to play cover 2. What are we going to do? There's no team out there that's like, we don't have any answers for this. It's just a cheat code. Make it illegal. We can't stop it.
That's why, like, the take just came out of nowhere to me, because it's not like this has been a talking point prior or anything like that. Like, it's just randomly today became one. Alan, we've already been going for close to 30 minutes, but I got to bring up one more thing before we get out of here, because you actually brought it to my attention. Completely missed this, but I saw somebody post a take, and they were like, if you think Ben Roethlisberger is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, you're an idiot. And I was wondering where that came from. But apparently, Kay Adams had that take. Was it on her show, or was it a post, or what was?
I think it was a clip. She tweeted it, but okay. I think it was stemmed from a conversation on her show with Mike Vick, who made the case for Ben Roethlisberger to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I didn't even think this was a conversation that we were having. I thought we were just like, I already have his enshrinement in my calendar that I know I need to be in Canton, Ohio in August, the first weekend of August in 2027. It's already in there. Like, I didn't even think that anybody was going to bring this up. Like, how? I got nothing here. What would be the argument against it? I don't even understand.
Yeah, so I mean, I found it. I'm not watching the clip right now, but I am looking at her follow-up, which she said, I'm not saying Big Ben doesn't deserve to be first ballot, and he's, of course, a surefire Hall of Famer, but he'd be the first QB in NFL history to get on first ballot without any of the following: MVP, first team All-Pro, second team All-Pro, Offensive Player of the Year award, or Super Bowl MVP.
Okay. I mean...
So he will break the mold.
I guess. I just, who else? Well, I mean, part of it is one, the reason he never won most of those things. I think you could argue that he probably should have been a Super Bowl MVP. I think most of those things happened because he happened to be playing in the league at the same time as the best quarterback ever. That does not make him not a Hall of Famer. Just means, in fact, in the same conference. So even if he had been in the NFC, he would have been a first-team All-Pro. He just happened to be in the same conference as Tom Brady for almost his entire career. And so, that's a big part of it. Right. And, like, who else? The whole argument about the first ballot thing drives me nuts. Who cares if it's his first ballot or not? He's on the ballot, and he's going to be more deserving than everybody else on that ballot. I guarantee it. Like, so why make him getting on in the first ballot a thing? I don't understand that. He's like, there's not going to be, 3 to 5 is now you can pick between 3 and 5 can make it. I will guarantee there are not going to be 4 people more deserving of being a Hall of Famer on the same ballot as him. You see the rest of the class? I mean, like, that AB's on there. You want to make that argument? Like, I don't know. I think, like, there's some other guys that I think are Hall of Famers, but I'm not putting Ben Roethlisberger behind any of them.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. I understand that he doesn't have the accolades, but you have to wonder, I mean, if his timeline's just a little bit different, if he's playing with, a different, we just talked about how the QBs are right now compared to how they were in his time in the level of competition back then. So it doesn't mean that what he did was any less impressive. It's just everybody else, the other guys were that good too. Like,
when Brady first retired before he came back to spite Ian Rappaport and his wife, or was it Schefter? It might have been Schefter. Then they were going to go in the same year. Okay, all right. Well, then I could maybe see that. Like, don't want to put two quarterbacks in same class, same year. Okay, whatever. I can see that. But there is not going to be anybody in that class more deserving than Ben Roethlisberger. So just put him in, and I'll see you August 2027 in Canton.
I'm fully in agreement there. All right, let's get out of here. Alan, tell the people they can find you.
I'm fired up. Sorry, just one of those days. It was one of those days. I feel like had to.
This is good too, because this was an episode for you to get on the good side of Steelers fans too. I think they'll be in agreement with the passion for this one.
All right.
So,
by the way, also, we had a bunch of Chargers fans come visit.
Yeah.
After I talked up the Chargers on Morning Drive, Morning Rush yesterday. And I will say, I said at the beginning of that I was trying to scare Steelers fans into being afraid of the Chargers, even though the Chargers are not scary. And while some of the Chargers fans took exception with that, none of them, there's like 100 comments from Chargers fans on the video. Yeah. None of them are scary. None of them are even half as mean to me as Steelers fans are on the regular. So, like, I think they just proved me right that they're a very polite fan base. Okay, they're not scary at all. They might be good at football, but no one's afraid of them. Okay.
Yeah, there's a difference there. So yeah, other than Acrisure Stadium, if Chargers fans would like to have a little meet and greet with Alan Saunders, where can the people find you?
At @Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, and TikTok. PGH Steelers Now is the site's account. Steelers Now Plus, SN Plus. Use promo code Allen10. Get 10% off an annual subscription. It comes out to like $4 a month, and you get to read Southside Scoop with all the best stuff that I get in the locker room, and Derek Bell's weekly column, and an ad-free viewing experience on SteelersNow.com, which, trust me, is way worth it. And make sure you go to the website. You can read Broderick Jones's full comments and all the good stuff that I got from the locker room today. And like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on YouTube so you don't miss an episode of Sights and Sounds, Afternoon Drive, Morning Rush, all the interviews, everything we got going here on the YouTube channel.
Steelers Now post game.
Steelers Now post game.
Anything that you can maybe drop as a little bit of a teaser for this week's Southside Scoop?
I talked to Van Jefferson about something the Steelers are doing with him that the Rams used to do with him, and how he thinks it can be a bigger part of the offense.
Okay. Well, what's he got? 3 catches this year? So yeah, I look forward to seeing what this bigger part of the offense is for Van Jefferson. But all right, yeah, I look forward to that as everybody else does. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to read it. As Alan said, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here on YouTube. Hit us in the comments as well with a question for a future episode or your thoughts on any of the topics that we talked about today. Can't wait to see what you guys have to say about Kay Adams' take on Ben Roethlisberger making. I mean, that's, to me, is what's really going to blow up the comments of this episode, if anything. So I'm excited for that. Leave us a 5-star review and subscribe if you are listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive and you will find us there. Just like on TikTok, it's Steelers Afternoon Drive. And then you can find me everywhere at Zachary Smith, PGH. Alan Saunders and myself, thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.